Number two says that the on-street parking that we're going to be creating at our cost on 7th Avenue by carving into the overly wide boulevard not be granted exclusively to our use. We understand that traditionally the city is not in the habit of granting exclusive usage to private users within a public right-of-way. This is a little different situation in that there is presently no parking on the west side of 7th Avenue. This is our concept to bring it. It is our cost that will create it. And we're hoping that in light of that and the added demand that we're going to be bringing to the neighborhood for parking, that you would consent to grant a revocable permit permitting us to use these 5 created parking spaces.
He's objecting to condition number 2, which simply states that on-street parking cannot be reserved for private use, and that's the law.
Okay.
It's public property. Everyone has the right to use on-street parking, and if they feel they should have a revocable permit for a specific use, they make requests for that revocable permit. But that's outside of the approval of an incentive development preliminary plan.
Mr. Hruska?
Whatever the process is, and Mr. Atkins would know far better than I, the goal that I'm hopeful of is that by creating the thought to provide and paying for the creation of the parking, that the usage of that parking could be ours. Whatever the right mechanism is, if it's not the revocable permit that Mark Baker sent me today, if it's some other means, that's fine with me. This is just the one lingering issue of we're hopeful that by thinking of and paying for the parking that we can have the use of it. Because it's parking that currently does not exist.
And a residential permit parking would be just fine?
Well, residential permit parking, of course, is available to anybody living in the block. And while we're the most proximate and the most likely users, we would prefer if we could have the parking that we pay to create. So that's our goal, and that's our question and our request of you.
What the city attorney is saying is that since it's public land, public property, we can't create private parking on it.
That's correct. Now, permit parking is an exception to that rule. I suppose a revocable permit could be used. My question is, if I happen to park there, what's the enforcement mechanism?
According to the agreement that Mark Baker sent me today, that I thought you might have had a hand in drafting, it says that we're responsible for enforcement. We're also responsible for maintenance.
So what are you going to do to me if I park in this parking spot?
I guess I can, put a little note on your windshield saying this is private
There is no
parking,
enforcement.
and you shouldn't park here.
Right. That's basically all you can do.
Yeah. So
Because we're dealing with public property.
I think, it becomes more or less an empty challenge on our part.